but I'm here today representing the Rail Supply Group, and in particular the SME work stream, which is a key part of what we're doing in the Rail Supply Group. And today I'm joined by Roy Freeland, the President of Perpetuum, an SME, and by Colin Flack, the CEO of the Rail Alliance. Now this is billed as a discussion group, so we're going to keep the presentations to a minimum. And for those of you that haven't scurried over here from the RSG meeting with Terence Watson, Roy will quickly run through the RSG set of slides that we have to give you a flavour of it before talking to you a bit more about what we're doing within the SME work group that I think is vitally important to the overall supply chain, obviously the government and the wider industry, and also to the likes of Siemens and the rest of the larger bodies that supply the industry. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Roy.
Thanks very much, Paul. Good morning, everybody. We have some exciting announcements to make today, and I hope particularly SMEs amongst you will be enthused by it. First of all, as Paul said, a few quick slides to put our work in the context of the overall Rail Supply Group Council, for those of you that haven't rushed over after Terence's presentation a few minutes ago. So, the Rail Supply Group, the fast track for growth, that's what we're targeting. The opportunity is presented by the massive investment that is going to take place in the rail industry over the coming years in the UK. And we see this very much as an opportunity to get a really good rail supply chain going, not only to supply the opportunities, but also to create massive opportunities to export overseas. We have a vision. By 2025, we want to more than double the export volumes and values out of the UK. We need the right people to do it, so we want to attract the best UK talent to the rail industry, make it an attractive, exciting place to work in. We want to be a global leader in high-speed rail. HS2 gives us a really good opportunity to do that. And we want an entrepreneurial supply chain that is going to keep innovating. The rail industry has been very conservative. There are massive opportunities to innovate and take leadership. So our vision is to have a radically transformed supply industry, making the UK a global leader in rail. Okay, now I would like to talk, let me just explain how it is set up. So we have there wasn't time to put Sajid Javid in there, this stage. We have a number of work streams: exports and inward investment. Background to that is 59% of UK employment and 48% of UK turnover actually comes from smaller companies. SMEs are good in introducing new technologies from other sectors, and we believe there's massive opportunities to do that in the rail industry. So the opportunities to use the SMEs with their capacity for high growth, their ability to be vibrant innovators, and their versatility in changing markets. But there are challenges. And the challenges include being best in class internationally. It's no good being narrowly focused in the UK. We need access to customers, and I'll be talking about the scheme that we're launching this morning in just a second. And they need help with technical safety and regulatory issues. So the actions we're starting with are 2 mentoring schemes. The first one was a trial scheme launched by Alstom a little while ago, and Colin Flack will talk about the one we are launching today. The open door scheme, which I'm about to talk about now, And one of the most important things that the RSG is doing is help getting the larger companies in the industry to help the smaller companies in all sorts of ways, whether it's mentoring, the open doors scheme I'm about to describe. And that's one of the backbones of the philosophy here. We will all benefit if we all work together, and big companies can provide that little bit of assistance that the smaller companies need to make that successful. So, I'm announcing today the launch of the Open Doors scheme. The concept behind this is that, and this comes directly from a large meeting we had of SMEs in the rail industry in February. We asked them what their issues were, what their biggest problems were. And it sounds very simple, but actually finding the right person to talk to in a potential customer, whether it's a tier one, an OEM, a TOC, the right person to talk to, and getting feedback that actually tells you what's right with your product, what's wrong with it, etc., is so important. So we've set up what I hope will be a very simple scheme to administer, but I think it will be very effective. So an applicant, and that's any SME, will simply send an email to the administrator. Now, the administration is being handled by the DFT for all sorts of reasons of commercial confidentiality, etc. The administrator at the DFT will send to the SME a list of all those companies that have signed up to participate in the scheme, and I'll talk about that in a second. The applicant then sends his proposal, which is passed on by the administrator, to the participant's contact. Now, in the participant, they will have nominated a senior management contact to get these proposals. The concept is based on what Joe Bamford used to do at JCB, except he made himself the contact. And when he took a proposal from a supplier down to his engineering shop floor and said, give me a report on that, you knew he was going to get a report on that, because otherwise all hell let loose. And I remember him doing that. And that's where I got the idea from this from. So the contact in the large company will then find someone suitable to evaluate the proposal. It might be someone in the engineering department, might be early stages research, it might even be in the procurement department, but someone who is capable of looking at the proposal and doing a decent evaluation of it, and then the evaluator will report back to the applicant, to the SME, and say, this is what we think about your proposal. Hopefully, and here is the order number. Inevitably, on many occasions, it will be, I'm sorry, for this reason and that reason, it isn't suitable for us. But the reasons are important. And the administrator is there to check and make sure that all of this is done in a timely fashion. So we are launching this program now. Participants invited include some of the leading companies in the industry, and we are currently preparing the list of all the companies that will be available for SMEs to ask for their proposal to be sent to. If there is a successful outcome, then we will encourage the participants to display this badge, indicating that they have been helpful and in getting SMEs to succeed in supplying the rail industry. We are launching it with invitations to be sent shortly to the 25 or so SMEs that have already contributed to the development of the policy and strategy for the SME workstream, attending a meeting in London and giving us their contributions. We're very grateful for them. You are now seeing the results of that work in 2 schemes being launched today. If you are interested, please simply send an email to this email address, opendoors@railsuppligroup.org. Do not expect, if you are not one of those people on the initial invitation list, that you will necessarily get a response very quickly. We still have to trial the system with the 25 or so SMEs that we started off with. Okay, so give us a little bit of time. but we hope very much to make this more generally available within a matter of a couple of months. Okay? So, that's the Open Doors scheme. The second scheme that we are launching this morning is the mentoring scheme, and I'm going to hand over to the Rail Alliance, who are running this scheme on behalf of the RSG, Colin Flack, etc. Most importantly, the government is strongly represented.
Well, good morning, and I think the first thing I'd like to say is on behalf of the Rail Alliance, we're very conscious of the fact that we've been given something pretty and special to take forward, and we will spare no efforts to make sure that we serve the RSG as best we possibly can. The scheme itself is delightfully simple. In fact, and I've just managed
better exactly what it is that the upper tiers of the sector actually want from the supply chain, because every company is different, and that's blindingly obvious, but sometimes it has to be said. And so what we're focusing on at the moment has been that process of trying to better understand as individual companies what they're looking for. Because obviously any mentoring scheme is going to sort of crash and burn spectacularly if we just try to drop a very flat offer that is the same for everyone, that if you like is a one-size-fits-all, because this is by no means a one-size-fits-all industry. And so we're very conscious of that in what we're trying to do. So that work has been ongoing. So that first phase of structuring is all about talking to people, getting to understand people, and sort of gradually building up that sort of database, if you like, of the opportunities that are out there. The next stage, and that's probably the more interesting to the majority of people here, which is actually the mentoring process itself. And I think one of the things I would like to say is mentoring is a little bit like innovation. It's one of those, if I can say it, damaged words, that it means too many things to too many different people. And in fact, if I asked any 2 or 3, 4 or 5 of you to say, what does mentoring mean to you, other than the fact you're all in public, you might sort of coalesce onto an answer. If I did it individually, you'd come up with very different answers. And so we're very conscious that whatever it is that we bring forward and how we bring it forward always has to bear in mind that both at the top tier the needs are different, and actually the needs of SMEs supplying into that process are also different. So we're trying to work our way through that minefield. Now, it's been very helpful that over the past 12 months we've been running a scheme for biz which has been looking at actually completely at companies that are outside the rail sector in the main, so a very light touch form of mentoring. So we've been working with them and we've learned a great deal from that process. So effectively, what we're trying to do now is today we're launching this initiative. It's actually live now. There's a small website link that will be live as at midnight tonight, and it's a pretty simple case of getting on and engaging with it. The bit that I would like to talk about in sort of a minor amount of depth is the commitment, if you like, from the SME themselves. What we're using is the Stanford Research Institute process called the NABC process. And NABC stands for, in the first sense, needs. It's obviously really quite important that those who are trying to engage, the SMEs that are trying to engage with us, actually need to fundamentally understand what the needs of the customer are. So we're trying to achieve that by pushing out into this sort of 20, 30 top tier, and we're trying to help with that process, but there's an element there of engaging and understanding. The next bit that comes along really then is to look at the approach that you as companies are going to take to that. How is it you are going to engage? What is it that you are going to get from it? How much do you understand the customer's needs? Because that's really hugely important as well. So you're getting into the right mindset to take this whole piece forward. Fundamental to that, so from NA, the B, the benefits, is what are the benefits that the supply chain or the customer is going to get from you? This is not a free handout. This is a piece of work that is going to be interactive, that actually you're going to have to put as much effort into it as anybody else is. It's not something that we can just sort of say, there you go, you're off. And finally, the C part is understanding also who your competitors are. Because obviously, again, it's pretty important that you understand who you're competing with. Because from that, at this early stage, you can make your mind up as to whether this is a piece of business worth getting into or not. Because it could well be that you'll do all of that, and you'll actually say, do you know what? This is just too much like hard work. This is not worth it for us, or the time is not right. So that's how that whole process is going to work. If I can just go back a second in the slides there. The key to the whole piece is brokering these relationships up and down the supply chain. So in short, and I'll finish off on the next slide in a moment, what we're going to be doing is, I think it's June 17th and 18th, we're running the first two mentoring sessions. It's a registration session, if you like. The first one will be done in London on the 17th, and we're looking at a Midlands venue for one on the 18th. The website will be open as at midnight tonight, and literally all you need to do to get engaged with this process is to send us an email on that email address, and we will take it from there.
Yes, I don't want to preempt the findings of the work streams, but the initiatives that we're already talking about with BIS and DFT involve investment, of course. Then how we get investment across the line when it doesn't come from a train operating company's franchise, and that's the question, I think. There's one thing that's giving us some funding, which is the qualitative value in the franchising model. So a bit of innovation in franchising is around, it's new. It's not enough for us. We're talking about an order of magnitude of investment needed beyond that. So that has to come from a match funding model. Yeah.
The process that we've got going on at the moment is that one of my team, who sat one away from you, is spending, so there's a lot of feedback going on here, is spending a huge amount of time with the top tier companies to try and make sure that actually both we explain what the scheme's about and why it's come about, and then where we see the values, but also to understand from them where they can see the value in such an offering. And I think one of the keys to it is this point that it's not a one-size-fits-all. So what will work for one major company, even in the same part of the sector, will probably not work for another. So we're trying to sort of get a balance between that. And I think quite a fair bit of work is going into the sort of, I'm very lucky, I've got a very passionate, enthusiastic team, is actually keeping that passion and enthusiasm coming through and making sure that the sort of the top tier stay motivated to act as mentors. Does that answer the question?
From the team, thank you very much for attending.